Serious, when was a time you legitimately thought you were going to die? Caught norovirus a few years ago. I didn't realize how bad it could be before it struck. No fluids would stay in for more than a few seconds. I ended up really dehydrated almost overnight. Like if you pushed on my skin it would stay sunk. I couldn't move or any muscles would fall cramp, legs, jaw, arms, abs, all of them. I didn't think I would survive. At the very least thought my heart would cramp. But I got over it after 5 or 6 days. I can totally see how it kills old people though. If I was any less averagely healthy for an adult male, I'm sure I'd be dead. My third round with double pneumonia. Put into isolation on round-the-clock oxygen. There's just something about such severe oxygen deprivation that you get dizzy and hack up a lung just crossing a room to pick up a book that makes you certain the end is coming.
This happened about 4 to 5 months ago. I was home alone eating steak tip kebabs for dinner. My wife was at work and due home in about an hour. I choked on one of the pieces of steak. Chew throughly people. At first I thought I just needed to swallow harder. Bad idea, as now it was firmly lodged in my throat. I tried coughing it up, punching myself in the stomach, and pulling it out with my hand, none of which helped. I then ran over to the kitchen and tried to wash it down with some water. The water just sat in a pool in my mouth. My throat was completely blocked. At this point I contemplated calling 911, but I knew I'd be long dead before they'd arrive. The thought of my wife, we just celebrated our first anniversary and recently decided to start trying to conceive, coming home to find my dead body was by far the scariest part. I remember looking at my cats, but they just stared at me, confused at my odd behavior. Eventually I reached what felt like my whole hand down my throat and pulled a chunk of the obstruction out. This loosened it enough to let me cough out the remainder. I was so close to passing out. Vomit everywhere. Total time in throat around 90 seconds. I couldn't talk for a day due to the physical trauma on my throat. Drove myself to the hospital. Cried in front of my wife when I saw her. The next few days were surreal. It was like I was living in an alternate timeline. I don't find choking gags in movies/TV amusing anymore. Still have mild PTSD about it.
A couple friends and I were driving home from a birthday party and we got rear-ended by a drunk driver who was going about 120. On impact all of the windows exploded and the tires caved inwards and we were going about 70, so there was a sort of slingshot effect that made us pick up some speed. We were just careening down the freeway with zero control. The car swerved around a bunch, almost hits another car and a pole and eventually rolled into an area just right of the shoulder. Luckily it ended up back upright on the tires and somehow ended up facing the complete opposite direction we were initially going. We thought our friend in the backseat was dead, but she was just unconscious and ended up having some pretty bad whiplash. My other friend and I were basically unharmed except for some cuts and bruises and just overall body ache for a little bit. This was in 2007 and I still think about pretty frequently. We all probably should have died for sure.
One time I woke up in the middle of the night with a stomach ache, so I went in the bathroom and shat wildly for a while. Then I went into a cold sweat and my hearing and vision started to blur and muffle. I called for my mom but I couldn't quite hear myself. Then everything went black and I couldn't really hear anything, but I was still awake, so that wasn't cool. Then my mom, she heard me, as I did successfully yell for her, gave me a bowl and I threw up a completely clear liquid with the appearance and viscosity of corn syrup. This all happened over the course of like 30 minutes and I woke up fine that morning. When it was happening I thought I was gonna die, and afterward I assumed it was food poisoning or something. Apparently most of what I just described is not consistent with food poisoning though. Cheers.
I was really sick when I was 12. Missed the whole semester of school. I was throwing up every day and had no energy. Doctors couldn't figure it out. Had test after test, visited specialist after specialist and nothing. All we did know is my liver wasn't functioning. I was pretty jaundiced. I was pretty sure I would die before we knew what was wrong. It's hard to explain, but I came to terms with it. Like I was more comfortable with death as a concept when I was 12 than I am now at 25. Turns out it was my gallbladder. They had checked it for gallstones early on, but that wasn't the issue. My particular malfunction didn't show up on an ultrasound. The bile duct into my stomach didn't form correctly from birth, and it was hindering complete bile drainage, leading to sepsis in my gallbladder/liver. 1 surgery and 2 weeks bed rest and I was back to normal.
We had a lockdown at my school. Teacher didn't know what was going on. We heard a loud series of banging sounds as we huddled in the corner, and we all started texting our friends and family goodbye. I remember my mom sending me photos of our cat to try and help me stay calm. I can only imagine how terrifying it must have been for her. I really thought I was going to die. As it turned out, there was no real threat. It was a stupid prank. I don't know what the banging sound was, but it was probably chairs moving.
Woke up immediately wide awake in the middle of the night without moving, and the hair standing up on the back of my neck because my now ex-wife was standing in our bedroom holding a large kitchen knife and staring at my feet. She had had a schizophrenic break a few months earlier and had started referring to me as the enemy. I laid there without moving. She stood there for over an hour. Have no idea how long she was there before I woke up. Anyway, she leaves the room and comes back without the knife, gets into bed, and cuddles in Little Spoon style like she made a decision. Then she made me waffles for breakfast. Best believe I put on my best "oh wow, amazing wife. These waffles are yum" voice.
When I was taken hostage in Iraq and held for over 2.5 years. The 4 other people captured with me were killed. I was the only one who made it out alive. I did an AMA about it some years ago.
Summer of 2015, after I had a 6-hour surgery to remove a tumor. When I woke up and they took the mask off of me, I was in so much pain and felt like I couldn't breathe.
When I had migraine with aura for the first time, I didn't even know this was a thing. But it started with the worst migraine I ever had, followed by me losing my sight and becoming dizzy and feeling sick. I thought this was it. I told my sister that I thought I was gonna die. She told me she has those migraines too, brought me a pill specifically for these migraines and told me to sleep. She stayed with me until I woke up just to be sure. Scary as hell.
Some dick pulled a revolver on me while at a party. Turns out it was one of those decommissioned ones with a cemented barrel and cylinder, but I didn't know at the time and it was fucking scary.
May 10, 2019, rear-ended by a dump truck. In a coma for 42 days and am now paralyzed.
Very recently I had some kind of super fast virus or illness. Not sure what it was, but it basically started off with me feeling an incredible sense of impending doom, which I know is a sign for panic attacks. But I don't get panic attacks, and that feeling lasted until I started getting cold. Usually I am way too warm, but this time I had to bundle up. That didn't work, and even getting into bed didn't help. I started shivering so hard my muscles began to tighten and it was so painful I had to jump into the shower to stop it. But before I could get in I started getting lightheaded and had to lie down on the floor. It was like everything was spinning. And then I had the urge to shit and puke at the same time. Not being able to think clearly, I get into the tub in an attempt to do both just in case. At that moment I couldn't stand or coordinate properly, shivering, lightheaded, about to shit and puke. I thought to myself, I must be about to die and this is how I'll be found. I ended puking first, felt better enough to shit in proper place and then showered to stop the shivering. After all of that it was like nothing happened and I was better again.
Back in July I was riding my motorcycle and was turning into my driveway. A girl came from behind me around a sharp turn and T-boned me. She was going at least 60 miles per hour up until a couple seconds before impact when she hit her brakes. She hit me because she was either texting or dicking around with something in her car. Either way she wasn't paying attention. I remember hearing tires screeching and seeing the car half a second before impact, then everything went black. I broke the windshield with my head, broke the mirror with my hip, then landed face first on the road. I do remember being scared because I wasn't sure if there were more cars, so adrenaline kicked in and I caught myself with my hands and knees and pushed myself to my feet to run off the road. That's where I regained my vision. The bike was totaled, but thanks to my helmet and pure rage at being hit, I managed to literally walk away with only a concussion, nasty bruises, and a deep bone bruise on my left foot. No broken bones at all. It's been about 8 months and I'm still recovering from the concussion. My toe barely hurts, and the leg that took the impact has a dent in the muscle, but other than that I'm fine. If I wouldn't have been wearing a helmet then I have no doubt that I would be dead now. Wear your damn helmets, kids. Edit, that last wear should be wear. It's weird I misspelled that, it's like I got a concussion recently, haha.
I was on vacation this past summer, was staying at a friend's house, when I started to notice my chest feeling tight. I started to get a fever and feel sick. I threw up and the feeling in my chest started to expand. It felt like it was going to explode, like a balloon being inflated inside me. I couldn't stand it. I literally felt like at any moment my heart would give out or my chest would explode. Went to the emergency. Turns out I had a really bad gallbladder attack. But on the drive to the hospital I was telling my wife how much I love her lol and that if she remarries don't let it be anyone we currently know, ha 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 ha.
I woke up in the morning to get ready for work, bent to tie my shoe, and when I stood back up the sight in my right eye was entirely gone. I did the usual thing of blinking and shaking my head a little, thinking maybe blood rushed to my head weird or whatever, but it wouldn't come back. I tried to explain to my partner that I was in trouble, but when I spoke the wrong words kept coming out. I don't remember exactly what I said, but I definitely said tree instead of hospital at one point. I figured I was having a stroke or an aneurysm had ruptured, or something brain tumory, who knows. Whatever the case, I spent the entire ride to the hospital crying and telling my partner over and over that I loved him. It felt like I couldn't say it enough. Turns out I was preparing for my first migraine. Cluster headaches, I do not recommend them, and the migraine aura I get is blindness and aphasia because I'm a lucky girl like that, I guess.
Either one, I was moments away from drowning at 9 years old. I'd gotten to the stage of acceptance and overwhelming love and compassion. I accepted my fate, wished my family well and was ready to embrace death. Next thing I knew I was hacking of water at the side of the pool. No one helped me. No one got me out and I don't remember how I got there. Or the day I discovered I have a severe allergy to codeine. Took some cocodamol for a headache that day and by my first lesson in school I couldn't breathe. Felt like my body was shutting down internally. I got left in a hot tub as a kid and the jets pushed me towards the center where I couldn't stand up. All I remember thinking was someone's gonna have to do CPR on me and that's gonna be really gross. My godfather noticed me and yanked me out of there while my mom was yelling at everyone asking who left me unattended in the hot tub. It was her.
Kita stopped car going over 65 miles per hour. Spent 2 years in a wheelchair, 6 months of that was learning to walk again. Honestly thought I was going to die in the seconds before impact. I can still clearly see the people in the other car, the other traffic around us. Car was stopped to turn on a highway with no middle turning lane. I was the only one injured though, and I'm still sort of grateful for that because I swear there was a kid in the back seat of the other car. I wasn't the driver, front seat passenger of a reckless driver. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave a comment, subscribe for more content, and don't forget to smash the shit out of that like button. Infinite upvotes will make your dreams come true.